I set up two highly specialized artificial intelligences in opposite areas to debate topics that divide opinions. In today's video, the topic is one of the most discussed and polarized in politics and economics: capitalism versus socialism. Both systems present different answers to fundamental societal issues, such as the production, distribution, and consumption of wealth, as well as the roles of individuals and government in these dynamics. Before we begin, I will briefly explain the rules of our debate, which will be divided into three main blocks. Block 1. Questions and replies. The presenter will ask a question to each side, which will have 1.5 minutes to answer. After the initial response, each side will have 1 minute for a rebuttal, countering the opponent's argument, and 1 minute for a rejoinder, final response. Block 2. Direct confrontation. In this block, the two sides will have a direct confrontation, asking questions and responding to each other to intensify the clash of ideas. Block 3. Final considerations. Each side will have 2 minutes to present its final considerations, summarizing its arguments and reinforcing its position. To begin, I will give the floor to each debater to present an overview of the system they defend, how it works, and why they believe it is the best choice for society. Let's start with capitalism. Question: can you explain to us what capitalism is, how it operates, and why you consider it the ideal system for society?
Capitalism is an economic and social system where the means of production and distribution of goods are mostly controlled by individuals and private companies. It is based on private property, free competition, and the pursuit of profit. The economy is driven by supply and demand, with a reduced role for the government, which typically intervenes only to maintain fair competition and protect the rights of consumers and entrepreneurs. We believe that capitalism is the best choice for society because it encourages innovation, productivity, and economic development. This system values individual freedom, allowing people to choose where to work, what to produce, or what to consume. Competition encourages companies to improve their products and services, benefiting consumers with more options and quality. In addition, by generating wealth, capitalism enables more investments in important sectors, such as education and health.
Now let's hear the other side. Representative of socialism, could you explain what socialism is, how it works, and why you believe it is the best option for society?
Socialism is an economic and social system where the means of production and distribution of goods are controlled by the state or the community, rather than being private. The goal is to create a more equal society, where resources are distributed fairly and everyone has access to basic needs such as health, education, and housing. Government plays a central role in the economy, planning and regulating production to reduce inequalities. We believe that socialism is the fairest system, as it prioritizes collective well-being over individual profit. Economic inequalities are reduced, and everyone has the guarantee of a dignified life, regardless of their financial condition. The focus is on the needs of the population, avoiding the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few and providing a more supportive and inclusive society.
Now that both sides have presented their views, let's start with the questions. First question for the representative of capitalism. How does capitalism deal with issues of social inequality and concentration of wealth?
Capitalism deals with inequality by encouraging economic growth and offering opportunities for social ascension. Historically, we can see this in the economic development of the United States and European countries after World War II. Free competition and the encouragement of innovation resulted in a period of unprecedented economic prosperity with major technological advances that benefited the entire society. Competition between companies drives the creation of quality products and services at affordable prices, benefiting consumers from all social classes. In addition, a significant portion of the wealth generated by the private sector is collected by the government and redirected to investments in health, education, and infrastructure, reducing inequalities. Studies show that in capitalist systems with adequate fiscal policies, social mobility is a real possibility for individuals from different backgrounds. In short, capitalism tackles inequality by promoting growth, encouraging innovation, and investing in creating opportunities for everyone to thrive.
Now let us listen to the argument of the representative of socialism on this very question. Representative of socialism, how does socialism deal with social inequality and the concentration of wealth?
Socialism addresses inequality by promoting a fair distribution of resources and ensuring that everyone has equal access to basic needs such as education, healthcare, and housing. By collectively controlling the means of production, socialism prevents the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few and seeks to eliminate the exploitation of workers by an economic elite. Instead of trusting that the wealth generated will be distributed, socialism proposes a system of direct distribution, as observed in countries with strong social welfare policies such as Sweden and Norway. In these countries, redistributive policies, combined with a free health and education system, have resulted in significantly lower inequality rates. Thus, socialism seeks to eliminate the exploitation of the majority by an economic elite, ensuring a dignified life for all.
Now let's go to the rep of the representative of capitalism. You have 1 minute to refute the points made by socialism.
While socialism promises equality, it often ends up stifling innovation and reducing individual incentives for growth. The example of centralized socialist countries has shown that state control leads to economic inefficiencies and lack of competitiveness, which limits the overall development of society. Capitalism allows flexibility for the government to adjust social policies without sacrificing the dynamism and freedom of the market, enabling a balance between economic growth and social welfare.
Now let us hear the rejoinder of the representative of socialism. You have 1 minute for your final answer to that question.
I understand the concern with innovation, but countries that have adopted hybrid models, socialist in basic principles, but with market economies such as Norway, show that it is possible to have innovation and equality. They combined economic development with a robust social welfare system, providing equal opportunities for all. Thus, socialism can provide a basis of equality without sacrificing progress.
For our second question, let's discuss how each system deals with economic crises. To the representative of capitalism, how does capitalism respond to economic crises?
Capitalism, with its basis in market freedom, allows for a natural economic recovery after crises. The 2008 crisis is a recent example. Despite bankruptcies and initial difficulties, the private sector showed resilience, and innovation led to economic recovery in several countries. Capitalism adjusts through the forces of supply and demand, allowing the market to rebalance itself without excessive state intervention that could prolong the recession. History shows that crises such as the Great Depression were overcome by private sector stimulus, while the government, with policies such as the New Deal, managed to stabilize the system without stifling the market. This flexibility allows capitalism to adapt quickly, while innovation and competition encourage efficient solutions that restore growth and confidence. Even in times of crisis, capitalism allows entrepreneurs to continue innovating and creating jobs.
Now we will listen to the representative of socialism. How does socialism deal with economic crises?
Socialism deals with economic crises in a planned and organized way, putting people's well-being first. Instead of allowing the market to dictate the pace, the state intervenes to protect the population from the worst effects of the crisis. During the 2008 financial crisis, for example, countries with strong social welfare systems, such as Norway and Denmark, were able to protect their citizens with social security, universal healthcare, and unemployment benefits. These socialist or socialist-oriented countries maintained a social stability that avoided protests and high levels of poverty, while in capitalist economies, inequalities widened. Unlike capitalism, which prioritizes the economic recovery of the private sector, socialism prioritizes collective well-being, ensuring that everyone has access to basic needs, even in difficult times. In crises, the socialist state intervenes directly to regulate the market, maintain jobs, and redistribute resources fairly, reducing the burden on the population.
Let us now go to the reply of the representative of capitalism.
Although socialism purports to ensure stability, the truth is that centralized systems often fail to respond quickly to crises. Take the Soviet Union as an example. The inability to adapt to global economic changes led to its collapse. With a rigid system of state control, they faced shortages, stagnation, and a lack of innovation, which aggravated internal crises. Capitalism, on the other hand, allows the private sector to adjust freely. Innovation and competitiveness within capitalism create quick solutions to crises, generating jobs and resuming growth. In capitalist countries, companies and workers have more freedom to adapt to market conditions, rather than relying solely on one government to decide what is best for everyone.
And now let's listen to the rejoinder of the representative of socialism.
The example of the Soviet Union is always used to criticize socialism. But it is important to note that today, modern socialist systems have learned from these mistakes and evolved, integrating market elements and more flexible planning. Countries such as Norway and Sweden, with socialist policies, have gone through crises without leaving the population helpless. Instead of relying on a natural recovery, these governments ensured that everyone had access to financial support and basic services, while many capitalist countries saw a rise in inequalities. Contrary to what capitalism suggests, state intervention can stabilize the market and protect citizens without sacrificing efficiency. Modern socialism combines social welfare with a regulated economy, ensuring that in crises, people always come first.
For our third question, we will discuss which system offers the best conditions for human development, focusing on areas such as health, education, and social welfare. Representative of socialism, you can start by answering.
In socialism, human development is a priority, as quality of life is considered a fundamental right for all. In the Nordic countries, which apply social welfare policies inspired by socialist principles, education and health are public and of high quality, accessible to all citizens. Norway, for example, has some of the best quality of life and social equality indices in the world, with a system that ensures free education, universal healthcare, and financial support for those who need it. While in capitalism, these services are usually linked to the private sector and individual purchasing power, socialism believes that the state must guarantee universal access, regardless of income. This eliminates barriers and promotes a fairer society in which everyone can fully develop, without depending on personal economic conditions. In a socialist system, human development is a state commitment, and citizens are valued and protected, which increases well-being and reduces inequalities.
Now we will hear the answer of the representative of capitalism about human development under capitalism.
Capitalism encourages human development by allowing individuals to pursue success independently, which promotes a dynamic and innovative society. Market freedom generates advances in health and education, as the private and public sectors compete to improve services and meet an increasingly demanding demand. The United States, for example, is a leader in medical and technological innovations, as capitalism encourages research, development, and continuous investment. In addition, in capitalist systems, public health and education coexist with private options, allowing people to choose the level of service they want. Instead of relying solely on the state, citizens are free to seek the best quality, which raises standards for all. When the private sector competes to provide better services, the public also benefits, resulting in better conditions for human development and more access options, including for those who choose free or subsidized services.
Let us now come to the reply of the representative of socialism.
Capitalism can generate innovation, but it leaves out those who cannot afford these advances. In the United States, where the health system is mostly private, millions of people lack basic access to medical treatment and end up in debt to pay for essential care. Freedom of the market, in practice, creates alarming inequality in health and education. And while some can benefit from high-end services, many are left completely helpless. In contrast, socialism prioritizes equal access. Countries such as Sweden and Finland, where health and education are guaranteed by the state, show that it is possible to have high quality without leaving anyone behind. In these systems, human development is not a privilege for a few, but a right guaranteed to all, without exceptions.
And now we are going to listen to the rejoinder of the representative of capitalism.
It is easy to criticize inequality in capitalist systems, but even in socialist or welfare countries, there are limitations. The quality and innovation of public services in these countries depend on the revenue generated by taxes, which in turn are only possible thanks to economic growth encouraged by the market. Socialist or welfare countries often have a high tax burden, which reduces citizens' financial freedom and can slow down economic progress. In addition, capitalist countries such as Japan and Germany show that it is possible to have a mixed system, where public health and education coexist with a robust private sector, allowing citizens to choose. The innovation that capitalism promotes ends up benefiting the public system as well, as medical and educational advances become available to all, either through government policies or through the natural competitiveness of the market.
For our fourth question, we will discuss which system is most effective in promoting social equality and creating economic opportunities for all. Representative of capitalism, you can start by answering.
Capitalism promotes social equality and economic opportunity by allowing individuals, regardless of background, to thrive through their effort and innovation. In capitalist economies, there is freedom to create, invest, and undertake, which generates jobs and opportunities for social ascension. Countries like the United States have stories of millions who have managed to build careers and fortunes starting from scratch, which demonstrates that capitalism encourages social mobility. Competition in the market creates an environment of meritocracy where everyone has the chance to grow. Even though wealth is unevenly distributed, capitalism offers opportunities to everyone to achieve success. In addition, incentive policies and small business support programs, common in capitalist economies, help reduce poverty and promote a more vibrant and inclusive economy. We believe that capitalism is the most effective system for promoting equal opportunities and ensuring that everyone can reach their potential.
Now we will hear the answer of the representative of socialism.
Socialism promotes true social equality, as it eliminates the concentration of wealth and provides real opportunities for everyone, regardless of class or economic status. In a socialist system, the state regulates and redistributes resources, ensuring that everyone has equal access to healthcare, education, and other essential services. This prevents a small group from controlling wealth, creating a more just and cohesive society. Countries such as Denmark and Norway implemented policies inspired by socialism, which provided high levels of social equality. Socialism, by eliminating extreme income inequality, provides an environment where everyone can live with dignity, and basic services do not depend on purchasing power, but on a universal right. Unlike capitalism, which often creates extreme inequality, socialism ensures that well-being and opportunities are distributed fairly to all.
Let us now go to the reply of the representative of capitalism.
Socialism may preach equality, but historically we see that it fails to provide real opportunities for individual growth. The equality that socialism promotes is often an equality in mediocrity, where people have no incentive to excel, innovate, or undertake. A good example of this is the collapse of the Soviet Union, where a lack of economic incentive and excessive centralization led to stagnation and a lack of opportunities for the population. In capitalism, inequality may exist, but this does not mean that there is no social mobility. The United States, for example, despite the disparities, is known as the land of opportunity, where entrepreneurs of all classes can thrive. The meritocracy and economic freedom offered by capitalism are fundamental to creating an environment where everyone, with dedication and effort, can achieve success.
And now we are going to listen to the rejoinder of the representative of socialism.
The example of the Soviet Union is an extreme case and does not represent modern socialism. In fact, countries such as Sweden and Finland, which have redistribution policies, show that equality can be promoted without compromising quality of life or economic growth. The high rates of social mobility in these countries are proof that it is possible to have a just society where everyone has equal access to opportunities and resources. While capitalism creates a meritocracy, this meritocracy is profoundly influenced by the initial conditions of each person. In practice, those who are born into wealthy families have a great advantage, which perpetuates inequality. Socialism, on the contrary, combats these initial barriers and ensures that everyone has the same conditions to progress. Equal opportunities are not just about allowing everyone to fend for themselves, It is to provide a fair basis for everyone to truly thrive.
For our last question, we will address a crucial topic for the future of all of us: environmental impact and tackling climate change. How does the system you advocate for deal with these challenges? Let's start with the representative of socialism.
Socialism treats the environment as a collective responsibility, with the state regulating and limiting the exploitation of natural resources for the good of all society. In socialist systems, the priority is not profit, but public welfare, which means that strict environmental policies can be implemented without the pressure to serve corporate interests. An example is Cuba, which, despite limited resources, has managed to implement sustainable agricultural practices and environmental protection. In addition, many countries with socialist policies, such as Norway, invest directly in the transition to renewable energy sources and environmental preservation. By focusing on sustainability, socialism offers a more conscious and organized approach to combating climate change, ensuring that future generations have a livable planet. We believe that an economic system focused on the common good is essential to address environmental challenges effectively and sustainably.
Now we will hear the answer of the representative of capitalism.
Capitalism encourages innovation in the creation of technologies that can solve environmental problems more efficiently than centralized regulation. In the United States, for example, competition and investment in the clean energy sector have led companies to develop revolutionary solutions such as electric vehicles and carbon capture technologies. This innovation is encouraged by the market, where there is a growing demand for sustainable products and services. While capitalism has its flaws, it also allows the market to adjust to ecological needs as consumers and businesses become aware of the environmental impact. Many of the greatest environmental innovations have emerged in capitalist economies, where entrepreneurs have the freedom and resources to develop new technologies. With market pressure and incentives for companies to adopt sustainable practices, capitalism promotes a model of economic development that can coexist with environmental preservation.
Let us now come to the reply of the representative of socialism.
Despite innovations, capitalism continues to put profit above environmental well-being, which leads to an irresponsible exploitation of natural resources. Companies can invest in sustainable technologies, but at the same time, they continue to explore fossil fuels and other practices that directly contribute to climate change. The pursuit of high profits is still the priority in many capitalist countries, even if it means irreversible environmental damage. On the other hand, in socialism, where the state regulates the economy, it is possible to implement stricter, longer-term policies without the pressure of attending to short-term profit. Countries with socialist policies, such as Germany, which has a strong commitment to renewable energy, show that it is possible to combine economic development with environmental responsibility. State regulation is essential to ensure that companies act sustainably, which capitalism fails to do on its own.
And now we are going to listen to the rejoinder of the representative of capitalism.
While socialism centralizes control, it can, in practice, stifle innovation. The most effective environmental technology, from solar panels to electric cars, have emerged in capitalist systems, where entrepreneurs are free to pursue creative and disruptive solutions. While capitalism may have flaws, it also allows consumers and investors to choose to support sustainable companies, which in turn forces changes in market practices. In addition, capitalist countries have shown leadership in climate agreements and international cooperation, as seen in the Paris Agreement. A system based on strict state regulations may not keep up with the pace of innovation needed to address complex environmental challenges. Capitalism offers flexibility and encourages the development of technological solutions that can benefit society and the environment in a sustainable and efficient way.
We come to Block 2, head-to-head confrontation. In this block, each side will have the opportunity to ask questions to the other, answer, and intensify the clash of ideas. Let's start with the representative of capitalism. Please ask your first question to the representative of socialism.
You mentioned that socialism prioritizes the common good and reduces inequalities. But how do you ensure that the absence of economic competition does not end up limiting innovation? Without profit as an incentive, what really motivates technological and scientific advancement?
Profit is not the only incentive for innovation. Many advances, such as public health research and space exploration, have emerged from government investments aimed at collective benefit, not profit. In socialist countries or countries with strong social policies, innovation is motivated by the need to solve real problems and improve the quality of life for all, without the weight of corporate interests dictating the course of research.
But even with this motivation, wouldn't it be true that the lack of competition creates an environment of stagnation? Look at the Soviet Union, where the absence of a market economy led to a lack of quality products and widespread inefficiency.
The Soviet Union is an extreme example, and modern socialism is not that model. Democratic socialist systems, such as in Sweden or Norway, combine collective well-being with a regulated market economy, where the government intervenes to ensure equality and essential services, but without eliminating innovation or the private sector.
What about economic freedom? Socialism can guarantee equality, but that equality often comes at the cost of individual freedom. When the state regulates the economy so much, doesn't that stifle people's freedom to choose their own paths and ambitions?
Individual freedom must be accompanied by social responsibility. In socialism, we ensure a basis of rights and fair conditions for all, without letting the freedoms of some generate deep inequalities for others. It is a more balanced freedom, where individual success is not at the expense of the exploitation of others. In addition, countries with democratic socialist systems demonstrate that it is possible to maintain individual freedoms within a regulated model. On the other hand, capitalism talks about equal opportunities. But how do you explain the extreme concentration of wealth and the initial barriers that many face? Isn't it true that those who are born into a rich family have advantages that make meritocracy an illusory idea?
Inequality is indeed a reality in capitalist systems, but capitalism offers paths of social mobility that, with well-designed policies, allow people to advance. The market creates opportunities for those who have determination, and many entrepreneurs came from humble beginnings. In addition, fiscal policies and support programs can mitigate the effects of inequality without interfering with economic freedom. Speaking of environmental policies, how can socialism ensure ecological practices when we know that the state, when it becomes the main regulator, can act in an inefficient or bureaucratic way? Doesn't this delay the development of real solutions to the climate crisis?
The state in modern socialism acts as a regulator to protect the environment without having to submit to profit interests. In democratic socialist countries, state regulation imposes clear limits on environmental exploitation, something that private enterprise would hardly do on its own. In addition, centralized planning allows for the implementation of long-term policies, such as the transition to renewable energy, that require constancy and commitment. On the other hand, in capitalism, where profit is central, how can we trust that companies will truly prioritize the environment without strict regulations? Don't we see, in practice, large corporations that claim to adopt green practices continue to pollute and exploit natural resources?
Green practices are a growing demand from the market itself. As consumers and investors demand sustainability, companies are encouraged to adopt these practices as they will otherwise lose competitiveness. Capitalism allows for this rapid adaptation, and the innovations that emerge from the free market, such as electric vehicles and solar energy, are proof that competition can benefit the environment. Finally, if socialism redistributes wealth and resources, how does it deal with the fact that this redistribution often penalizes the most productive and reduces the incentives for economic growth? How do you ensure that progress is not compromised?
Socialism does not penalize productivity, but rather ensures that the wealth generated is shared. Economic and social progress depends on a healthy and educated society. Redistribution is a way to ensure that everyone has access to the basics to contribute to society. Socialist countries show that high levels of social welfare are compatible with economic progress. Our system aims at a balanced and supportive society, where growth benefits everyone, not just an elite.
We come to Block 3. Final considerations. Each side will now have 2 minutes to present its final considerations, summarizing the main points and reinforcing its positions. Let's start with the representative of capitalism.
Capitalism is the system that most values individual freedom, innovation, and the creation of opportunities. Throughout history, it has demonstrated that it is capable of boosting economies and transforming societies by providing an environment where personal effort and creativity are rewarded. Market freedom allows for rapid adaptation to crises and encourages the development of technologies that benefit society, including in the areas of health, education, and sustainability. We recognize that capitalism has challenges, such as inequality, but we believe that solutions can be implemented without sacrificing the economic freedom and entrepreneurial spirit that generate growth and innovation. The meritocracy of capitalism encourages people to constantly improve, promoting a dynamic and competitive society where anyone can prosper. In a world facing rapid and complex change, capitalism offers flexibility and resilience. We argue that it is the most effective system for building a prosperous and adaptable society.
And now, the final considerations of the representative of socialism.
Socialism puts collective well-being above the interests of the few, promoting a society where everyone has equal access to resources and opportunities. In modern socialist systems, the priority is to ensure that basic needs, such as healthcare, education, and housing, are a universal right rather than a privilege. This creates a more just and egalitarian society, where no one is left behind due to lack of economic conditions. While capitalism often generates extreme inequality, socialism seeks a fair distribution of wealth, ensuring that development and progress benefit everyone. State regulation allows natural resources to be preserved and used responsibly, serving the common good rather than just profit interests. We believe that socialism is the system most aligned with the values of solidarity, social justice, and sustainability, capable of creating a future where every person has real opportunities to develop and prosper.
And that wraps up today's debate on capitalism versus socialism. We hope you enjoyed this intense exchange between our specialized AIs. Now we want to hear from you. Did you enjoy the debate? Which side had the most convincing arguments? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know what topic you'd like to see in the next AI debate. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support our content. See you in the next debate.